Alright guys, it is Saturday, September 25th, 2021 at 12:19 a.m. Alright, let's take a look quickly here at dailyverses.net. Verse of the day. Not to us, Lord, not to us, but to your name be glory, because of your love and faithfulness. Psalm 115:1. Alright, let's take a look quickly here. We've been looking at La Palma Volcano, and there's a lot of shockwaves coming from these volcanoes, and I wanted to show you guys a couple of them. Just shockwaves coming off volcanoes. Let me open this.
Los oídos, ¿eh?
Look at that.
Hostia, la onda expansiva, cuidado los oídos, ¿eh?
So a big shockwave coming off that volcano. You can see it in the clouds, just a big boof. Alright, so La Palma Volcano is erupting. Let's take a look at another one here at La Palma. So imagine living near La Palma and having to hear the constant woo woo, you know, like that noise from the volcano, and also these shock waves. Let's take a look at this one. Alright, so not only is it having shockwaves and explosions, it is also raining lava and brimstone in a large area around the volcano because it constantly keeps exploding. Alright, also a 5.1 earthquake happened in Guadalupe in the Caribbean. Let's take a look at the picture I posted from the USGS. Right there's Puerto Rico right next to it, and the smaller islands of the Lesser Antilles. Here we have a 5.1 earthquake in Bertrand, Guadalupe. The depth was 40.1 kilometers. Alright, so that happening right there in the Caribbean as well. So we got La Palma. Let's take a look at an article about La Palma. It says La Palma declared a disaster zone. More evacuations are increasing. Explosive activity and powerful shock waves. New vent and flights in the area cancelled. It says the activity of the new volcano that erupted on Sunday on the Canary Island of La Palma greatly increased on Friday afternoon, prompting the authorities to evacuate more nearby municipalities and cancel flights. A series of explosions have been heard throughout the day, while more pyroclastic material and ash was being spewed out of the Cumbre Vieja area. Alright, it says what's more, a new vent has opened up from which lava is flowing. So this seems to be a growing volcano spewing out lava and causing all sorts of chaos. Alright, next. Horror mice plague is ramping up again and spreading across new Australian states as summer sparks surge in rodent numbers. Look at that. There's a lot of mice. It says horror mouse plague surges again across Australia. Alright guys. It says despite the lull of the winter, Australia's mouse plague never ended, and now it's threatening new areas of the country. Large numbers of mice continue to plague rural Australian communities as farmers fear yet another crop will be ruined. After dwindling in the winter cold, mouse populations have begun growing rapidly again. Mouse expert Steve Henry says, we're quite concerned given the numbers that have been reported reported at the moment. NSW Farmers Vice President Javier Martin, who operates a farm in Grenada, said the new wave of mice would be a hard blow for farmers still reeling from the plague earlier in the year. So they're having issues with the crops because of the mice. I'll leave the link to this article so you guys can check it out. Alright, next, more extreme crop failures, famines, and year without summer. New science study shows cooling effect of rare large eruptions increases as atmosphere warms. So we got all these volcanoes causing a cooling effect as well. So if a lot of volcanoes go off, the ash and the particulates in the atmosphere kind of create more of an insulation around the planet, and it causes the planet to be colder winters. It says the eruption of Mount Pinatubo, Philippines in June 1991 was one of the most powerful in the 20th century. It says, while a major eruption is currently occurring in La Palma, you probably want to know if it will have an influence on the climate. A new science study has shown that the warming of our atmosphere will increase the cooling effect of rare, large eruptions, thus making them even more apocalyptic. As you already know, volcanic eruptions can have a massive effect on the Earth's climate. Volcanic ash and gases from the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora, Indonesia, for example, contributed to the 1816 year without summer, with crop failures and famines across the northern hemisphere. In 1991, the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines cooled the climate for around 3 years. So, large volcanic eruptions like Tambora and Pinatubo send plumes of ash and gas high into the atmosphere. Sulfate aerosols from the plumes scatter sunlight, reflecting some of it back into space. This scattering warms the stratosphere but cools the troposphere, the lowest layer of the Earth's atmosphere and Earth's surface. So, we have that article you guys can check out. Not good news when it comes to winters and also warming of the planet at the same time when it's warm. So, quite interesting. I'll leave the link to the article so you guys can check that out as well. Alright. Next. U.S. Air Force official, China might strike from space. As Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall has said before, his priorities are China, China, China. His keynote address at the Air Force Association Airspace and Cyber Conference continued the trend, taking up the possibility of space warfare against China. Kendall warned that China has the potential to actually put weapons in space, and likening the situation to the Cold War, he further warned China might be able to make attacks effectively undetectable for early warning systems. This is almost a perfect, tailor-made talking point for the U.S. military, as its facilities potentially endless spending on space warfare simply to counter what China might do. This was the whole justification of the U.S. Space Force and its appetite for wildly expensive weapons systems of dubious use in the first place. So I'll leave the link to this article. The possibility of that happening, who knows, man. Alright, next. Texas National Guard urges members to volunteer amid border crisis. The Texas Military Department seeks guardsmen who are willing to volunteer their time to defend the Lone Star State amid unprecedented migrant crisis along the Texas-Mexico border. The Texas Military Department stated new full-time positions are available for the Operation Lone Star Border Support mission. Volunteers must be medically and administratively deployable and members of the Texas Military Department, if said. If they're still looking for Texas Guardsmen to support Operation Lone Star, please help us to stop human trafficking, smuggling, and illegal border crossings while we are securing Texas. Lodging and per diem included, the department's Twitter said. Alright, so Texas looking for new members of their National Guard. Alright, next. It's a ghost town. Shocking images show downtown Chicago depressingly empty during the day. Have you been downtown lately? It's nearly empty. So we hear comments like that more and more, often from alarm readers in the Chicago area. We see it too, and it's worsening. We're putting up a few pictures of those who haven't visited lately and adding the perspective of one downtown restaurant owner. We took the pictures downtown on Thursday between 9:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Things seem to be improving a bit over the summer, but no longer. Is it COVID, crime, or the new trend to remote working? The recent surge in COVID began in the first week of July, and that's undoubtedly a major cause. The trend toward remote work is real and may be permanent, but crime seems to be increasingly on people's minds. So I checked in with somebody who is kind of a real-time barometer of downtown activity. That's Jesse Boyle, who owns 2 restaurants of the Oakville Transportation Center, Station Restaurant and Bar, and Vinny's Pizza Bar. Oakville is the primary commuter train station in downtown Chicago, so Boyle has a pretty good feel on the pulse of downtown activity. In the spring and summer, I was anticipating things to really come back. After Labor Day, Boyle told me, I was hearing a lot of companies were scheduling their employee returns for the fall, and my group was excited to get closer to normal. And he has put his money where his hopes for completing major renovations. But there are 2 things that have converged, Boyle says, as have things set things back. One is that the Delta variant has taken away a lot of early enthusiasm for work gatherings and people getting reacquainted. A closer second is crime, Boyle sees it. Overall, crime is up again, and the stories we're hearing and reading about suggest that downtown is not as safe as it used to be. Alright guys, so crime and COVID and working kind of mingling together and empty in Chicago. Alright, I'll leave the links so you guys can read more on that as well. And finally, containers quickly pile up at U.S. rail terminals, add to port strains. The U.S. continues to face unprecedented shipping crisis as log jams at ports and rail yards continue to worsen with no relief in sight. The increasing volume of containers, combined with labor shortage of dock workers and truck drivers, rail and storage capacity, have left shipping networks with huge congestion problems that continue to increase. Currently, more than 100 container ships are waiting to enter the U.S. port from coast to coast. Some of the largest congestion is San Pedro Bay of the port of Los Angeles, with more than 61 vessels waiting to enter. Dwell time for vessels is 6 days. The wait time for on-dock rail is nearly 16 days, and then it takes an additional week to move the container on the street to warehouses. So I'll leave the link to this article so you guys can check that out as well. That is just so spooky with the Texas National Guard, having to need more people. The ghost town in Chicago, barely any people on the street, and stores needing more people, and the containers, quickly piling up, and them needing people, a crisis of shortage of dock workers and people working seems to be a theme happening, and a lot of crime increasing is also a theme. So please stay safe out there, guys. Hit like and subscribe for more news and videos, and see you guys next time. God bless you guys.